Welcome to the Rick Elps Real Estate Show, your weekly edition here on this fine Sunday evening. It was a pretty busy week with the White House and some of their proposals on what they are going to planning or asking to do or floating the idea to help with housing affordability. And I'm going to touch on that, and then I'm going to get into some of our local numbers. So bear with me here. Don't forget to hit that like button, even if you don't like it. There's two of you every time, two of you that don't like it. I don't know who you are. You do. But anyway, so the first idea that came out was 50-year mortgage. Now, this has been bantered about quite a bit throughout the real estate world, social media, the news. Great idea, bad idea. I think it's a terrible idea. I think if you're going to get a 50-year mortgage, the first thing you need to understand is right now, here's your average right now. It's 6.38%. The 50-year note is going to be higher than that because of the risk to the lenders. It's spread out over a longer period of time. Now, I'm not naive enough to realize that when you take out a 50-year mortgage, that you're not going to hold it for the entire 50 years. But I will also say that if you're making a decision between renting and buying, and it's a difference of $200 in that mortgage, $300, then keep renting. Because you don't really want to lock into a 50-year mortgage where you're not even putting any money towards the balance in the first few years just to save a couple $100. Now, that's the math part of it. Here's the other part that's tough. They may be floating the idea, but the 2008 Dodd-Frank law has to be amended. So Congress is going to have to get in there and get involved and amend it. Now, you know me, I'm very anti-government when it comes to regulation in the real estate industry and stuff. And please, I more than welcome your opinions on this. This is what makes the channel more fun. In fact, when you get a chance, when you watch a video, go back after a couple days and read the comments, because that's where the real meat is. A lot of different opinions. The 2008 crisis and the Dodd-Frank law only had to come into being because they messed it up in the first place. They were telling lenders that they had to lend. There isn't a lender out there that wanted to, on their own, throw out these lousy products. Interest-only loans. Don't worry about your credit score. Don't worry if you had a job. They were being forced to do it. And then when the whole system imploded, in came Congress to find the solutions and fix things. Where would we be if they just would have stayed out of it in the first place? That's what I see is going on now with some of these proposals out there. This is just campaigning. It doesn't make any sense. The other one that they're looking at right now here too is Trump administration tries to break through lock-in effect with portable mortgages. Well, what's a portable mortgage? You got a mortgage on your house right now. You're sitting there. It's at 3%. You have a certain balance on there. You can move it to the next house. That's the theory. The reality is you probably can't. If you look at your note, there's a provision in there that says that you can't move it. Now, the banks aren't going to go back and rewrite that and say you can. They'd rather get you into 6.25, get you out of that 3, get you into a 6.25. There's a lot more risk in moving that. Now, excuse me. Canada has that ability. Take your mortgage when you move, porting your mortgage. What is mortgage porting? How moving your mortgage can save you money. But here's the difference between us and Canada and England. We have a 30-year note, fixed rate, fixed payment. Excuse me, I got something going on here. Canada doesn't. You can only get a 5, maybe a 10-year note. If you're from Canada, tell me what kind of note that you have. And it refinances, it resets. So you're always moving that balance that you've got, but it doesn't really stay at a fixed rate. I saw that happen a lot in the 80s. I know a lot of Canadians that I worked with were just, on the cusp of losing their home because the rate was changing. And you know how much it went up in the 80s, not just in the United States, but with Canada. So just being able to say that you can port your mortgage and move it, and that's going to free up a lot of inventory, I don't see it. I also go back and look at the 50-year mortgage and say, you're saddling on more debt. And you're looking at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac maybe going private. Right now they're in conservatorship. I agree with that. I think that's a great idea. They buy mortgages, hold them, and guarantee them. But the more you get government involved in our lending process, instead of letting the free market take it, the more problems you're going to have down the road. Don't believe me? Look at student debt, federally guaranteed student loans. The cost of going to school skyrocketed. Why? Because they knew the loans are guaranteed. They aren't forced to cut back on their expenses at all. Is the product getting any better? Nope. We're turning out kids with enormous amount of debt. Now they can't buy a house because of their student loan debt. Why is the student loan debt there? Because it's government guaranteed. So it just keeps going. What's going to happen with housing? You should probably let the market take over. Let it do what it's going to do. Mark the market. Let the market take over and let the banks compete with their own lending products that make sense to protect themselves. That's just my personal opinion. I think these two ideas that are being floated, I think they're ridiculous, but we will see how they play out. I don't think any of them are going to see the light of day. Now, in our market today, look here, and you can see that our active listings are starting to turn down as predicted. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that as we get into the holiday season, down they go, and that's what we're seeing. I'm also seeing in my 7-day moving average that the number of new listings are starting to decrease, and the number of contracts are remaining about the same at about 2,650. And that's being reflected here in the Cromford Market Index. Fountain Hills is green, it's up. Oh, and look at this. My handy dandy magnifying glass now works. Fountain Hills, you're up 10% versus last week. Chandler on the index, you're up 6%. Scottsdale down. What does it mean to be up or down in this index? Well, what it means is that if you have fewer listings and more contracts, your index climbs. If you have more listings and your buyer pool goes down, then the index goes the other way. So you're seeing some of that when you look at this and you see that's happening in Glendale, Peoria, Goodyear, Surprise. Maricopa is still hugging the bottom down here at 47.9. If you want more detail in this report, I included in my newsletter that comes out every Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and the link is down below along with this here. This is from the data store. If you want to report on your neighborhood, your community, your zip code, just fill out that information. I'll get it to you. Saw a comment on a Facebook video this week where a real estate agent and a lender were talking about consumer confidence is high and the market's going to take off. Never mind interest rates, consumer confidence is high. Well, I checked it out. United States, Michigan consumer sentiment. It says here, it fell to 50.3 in November, down to 50 from 53.6 in October, and below expectations of 53.2. The reading marked the second lowest on record, just above the June 22 low, as Americans grew increasingly concerned about the potential economic fallout for the longest government shutdown in history, something that never should have happened, in my opinion. But look at this, it's down. So when you hear people saying things, check it out. go look at the numbers, say, that's interesting. I didn't know consumer confidence was up. Let me look that up. Lo and behold, nope, wasn't true. Here's our pending listings for our market. Again, I'm going to pull out my handy dandy magnifying glass, partly because I'm just so happy that it's working again and you can see it better. Let me know how this looks on TV too, because YouTube has said they are ramping up the quality of YouTube videos on TV to 4K. So I want to know if you're seeing a difference if you're watching me on TV. Look here, the pink line there is above last week. It's really one of the few times it's happened all year. We've been hugging last year or a little bit below, and it spiked up just a little bit. And I don't really want to use the word spike. It just kind of increased an itty bitty bit. Here is the listings canceled per month. That's kind of hit a stop right now. I think people are getting towards the holidays and going, I'll let it ride. So the canceled listings, after hitting a peak here at the beginning of the year, are starting to just kind of stay put. We are seeing some movement here in price changes going up just a hair. As you can see there, they've come up. So as we get towards the end of the year, the house isn't moving. They want to sell it before the holidays. They want to sell it before the first of the year. We're starting to see more and more price cuts. I expect more of that in the next couple of weeks as people go, ooh, Christmas is coming. This is what we call it's just a tableau chart of what's going on in your market. So let's just look at Peoria here and take a look and say, Peoria right now has active listings. They're down from last year Is that what it is? Yeah, down from last month. And then it'll also show you how many are under contract, sales per month, sales per year. Days on market, 73 versus last month. They were at 82. And the days of inventory are 102 versus last month of 107. So there's all kinds of stuff going on by city, and it varies. And again, if you want to know what's going on in your city, use that QR code or the link down below. I'll send you a detailed report that has that information. Speaking of days on market, we're sitting here at 84.95 days on market. This means you listed it, you got a contract, and then it closed. And from the contract to closing takes from 30 to 40 days. It could be quicker, but let's face it, a lot of people want time to move. You'll get an inspection period. There's usually an extension while the owner takes time to make some of the repairs that you requested. So sometimes that drags that 30 days out a little bit farther. So when you look at average days of 84, that means that it's about 44 days for you to get an offer. Doesn't mean that it's 84 days until you can expect to see an offer. So that's really important to think of when you're listing your house, that it's going to take about a month and a half before somebody sends you an offer that you're willing to look at and accept. There's not a whole lot of that going on right now. Like I say, only about 2,650 per every 7 days. Is the mix of homes that we have here, is that changing much? And when you look here, 77.3% are owner occupied. We're sitting down here, 8.5% are second homes, and 13.2% are investor homes used for either flips or rentals. And then the iBuyer is that little tiny red spot you see down there in the bottom. And when you look at it, the percentage mix really hasn't changed much. Not much at all. Investors have been hanging around in the teens at around 13 to 15%. So that number has not changed much. The Crawford market came out with a chart this week that showed that the gains that flippers are making, the margins are actually starting to increase a little bit, which was kind of interesting. And they are far outpacing the gains that the iBuyers like Open Door and OfferPad are making. What's that mean? Well, means they're offering you less probably, and the margins are better for them when they turn around and flip it. So it's a very interesting market. See what's going on in the resale market when it comes to investors buying your house, remodeling it, and selling it. It's not gaining by leaps and bounds. Like I say, we're still 13%. But for those that play that game, they are seeing better margins, a little bit more wiggle room. Maybe it's because they text me 5 times a day. Rick, have you got any junk for me? This week is going to be interesting as we move forward because we're finally going to get some labor numbers, although I don't know how good they're going to be because they're scrambling right now. The government's open up to get together and kind of compile some numbers and see where we're at. It's going to be a messy week. I think you're going to see the bond market go up, down, up, down. Interest rates go from 6.3 to 6.2 to 6.4. I don't know. Nobody knows, except I think it's going to be a week full of volatility as we start moving towards Thanksgiving. I don't see any aggressive rate cuts coming even in December. I just see us staying here the rest of the year. I don't see any progress being made on the 50-year proposal or floating or moving, transporting your mortgage to the next house. So I wouldn't hang on to my hat for that one to work on, but you'll sure be able to know if you continue to watch this channel. Do me a favor, smash that like button and share this. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, shoot me an email at rick@rickhelps.com. Take care.